Good evening. I'd like to call the regular full Board of Aldermen meeting for Tuesday, November 12th to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And tonight will be led by fifth grader Paige Diaz, and I would recommend that we keep it quiet and let Paige take it because we know that we're terrible at this. Hit it, Paige.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great.
Nice job. Excellent job.
Great.
Simple, but the best in the history of the Board of Aldermen. All right, Trish, roll call.
Ready. Okay, aldermen and women. King. Farrar. Adamowski.
Here.
Tar. Cassetti.
Here.
Janetti.
Here.
Nutt.
Here.
Hardy.
Here.
Yauman.
Here.
Rivers.
Here.
Mamone.
I'm here, Trish.
Stewart.
Here.
Levinsky.
Here.
Durante.
Here.
That's 11 present, 3 absent.
Tar's here.
Tar,
Dan King,
Tar-
I'm here.
Okay,
oh,
Tar is present, 12
and
and
King.
2,
I believe
and
King.
King?
One. Yep.
13 and 1.
All right, I declare a quorum. The minutes for approval of the last meeting. Can we get a motion to approve those?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Rivers, second by Mamone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, those were October 8th, by the way. All right, we'll go to public session. Just a reminder, if you're planning to speak, anyone's welcome to speak to address the Board of Aldermen, but if you're planning to speak, please try to limit to 3 minutes or preferably less. One time speaking, and if you could provide your name and address for the public record and also for any potential follow-up from the city. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak tonight? Hand up. All right, Nell, please hit it.
I really don't have too much to say, just that I'm grateful to be here, and it's really nice to see all the progress being made on different things like the soccer fields and the solar shed things. Those are all things I can practically see out my window, and I'm just really intrigued and interested to see how that proceeds. And thank you all so much for your service, and I'm grateful to be here. So that's it for me this time.
Thank you. And you can, Trish, can you see her address in the window there?
Yeah, I did put my address. I'm in Bella Vista Apartments.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Anyone else from the public who wishes to speak tonight? Anyone else from the public? Going once, going twice, last call. Public speakers. Seeing none, we'll close the public session and move on to the public official session, started with the mayor, Mayor Cassetti.
Good evening, President Stewart, members of the Board of Aldermen, and residents of the great city of Ansonia. Let's take a moment to pray for Madeline Baton, who passed away recently. As you know, Madeline was the town and city clerk for 16 years. I served with her when I served on the Board of Aldermen in the 7th Ward from 1995 to 1999. Our prayers and thoughts are with her family, and we thank her for her service to Ansonia. We had a very successful trick-or-treat event on the steps of City Hall for Halloween, with hundreds of children stopping by to take pictures and grab some full-size candy bars. Fortunately, there wasn't any alien takeover, and we were able to give pizza away as well. Speaking of events, on Sunday, December 1st, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., we are having the first ever Ansonia Toy Show at the Armory. Proceeds from this event will help raise funds for books needed at the Children's Library. A $5 cover fee seems like a small price to pay for a very worthy cause. The following Sunday, December 7th, it's actually Saturday, December 7th, at the Armory, the Cultural Commission will hold a holiday craft fair. On December 6th, we will hold our annual tree lighting at Veterans Park. This year's theme is for Feliz Navidad, a Latino theme for our residents of Latino culture. I hope to see you all at both of these great holiday events. I want to thank and recognize all of the students who participated in the Pinky Silverberg boxing program. It was yet another successful season with Ansonia children learning the skills necessary to build character, courage, fundamentals of boxing. Thank you to all the coaches, especially Angelica and Paul Norris, the referees, and of course the children and their families for making this program a success. Also, thank you to all our sponsors as well. Also, congratulations to our Ansonia football team with another resounding win this past Friday against Woodland. Congratulations, Coach Brockett, and go Chargers. I want to wish all of you a very healthy and happy Thanksgiving. There certainly is a lot to be thankful for here in Ansonia. I hope you enjoy your time with friends and family in the upcoming holiday season. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Back to you, Josh.
I think we lost them.
I think
Hey,
he's
Okay.
on mute.
Hey,
There
Mayor,
you go, John.
Mayor, it's the chief. If you're still on, are you still holding the December 6th Pearl Harbor ceremony?
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't mention that, but thank you for reminding me. On December 6th, because December 7th is a Saturday, we will be having our 83rd annual commemoration of Pearl Harbor Day at 11 o'clock at Veterans Park. All are welcomed. I hope we can get a good crowd there, but I think it's very important that we commemorate it. And as usual, what I do is I started it 5 years ago. I read about each veteran that was lives was lost in World War II, and I read a little story about each one. This year here, I'm still working on an individual, so I can't report on that just yet. But thank you for bringing it up.
Josh, your mic is off.
See, John Marini has now successfully escaped from the aliens from the front of City Hall and is safely out front, ready to give his update. Corporation
Everyone's
Counsel John
safe.
Marini.
Yep. Everyone's safe from that alien encounter. Or are they? Cliffhanger.
For now.
Mr. President, members of the board, first an update on union negotiations. We have 2 negotiations ongoing. One is with our supervisors unit, and one is with our Nature Center Rangers unit. I can report that we're most likely going to see drafts of proposed contracts by our next meeting. Those negotiations are in the informal zone at this point. However, it looks like things are going very well, and I would expect it shouldn't go much further than the informal sessions. Looks like we have some good areas of agreement with both units, especially Nature Center's unit that could be resolved within a week or so. Supervisor's unit may take a little longer to handle out the details, but it's my hope to have both of these contracts to you for a potential ratification by this calendar year, hopefully at the next meeting to show you something. Moving on, a big topic has been discussed in the last couple of months, the citywide field project. You know already that our city rec advisory board has come up with proposals for the various city fields, including Nolan Field. Those proposals were turned into a preliminary design by our city engineers, DeCarlo and Dahl. and they've now been forwarded to this Board of Aldermen. In keeping with the procedures we outlined last month, the city is now out to RFQ, request for qualifications, for an outside engineer to work with DeCarlo and Dahl to review those plans, to refine them from the perspective of making them as effective as possible, both cost effective and of course for the athletes themselves logistically, and to work with them towards, towards putting together bid specs that would be ready for final review by this board. We're hoping January, February, and then out to bid for the actual construction of the project. The Board of Education has indicated that they'd like to talk a little bit about possibilities for additional funding, specifically potential for state reimbursement, which is typically not customary when you're talking about fields, but this may be a possibility. So what I'd like to do is, as the RFQ is pending, put together a small subcommittee of this Board of Aldermen to work with both the Board of Education and also to conduct interviews with the applicants, with the respondents to the RFQ when they start to come in. So of course, this would be that second engineering firm that would be working with DeCarlo and Dahl. We're looking for a firm with extensive experience doing recreation and sports fields. And this is, of course, to make sure that when those proposals do eventually go into final form, they're the best possible in every respect. So, Mr. President, today I'd really like some indication on getting a small subcommittee together so we could start the necessary steps to prepare for interviews and also to meet with the Board of Education. Obviously, the more hands on deck, the better for this. Big implications for the city, and everyone agrees from the Rec Advisory Board, I'm sure it's shared here, that we want to get this done once and right for everyone in the city of Ansonia, the students, the taxpayers, and all inclusive. Moving on from that, another big project, of course, the WPCA and the pending sale to Aquarian. You'll notice we have 2 dates on the calendar that are coming up. The first is a public hearing for the Board of Aldermen to, as the WPCA, essentially set the rates as originally anticipated prior to the sale. A public notice has gone out of what that rate change would be. It's very important, if you're not already aware, to help residents become aware that those rates are subject to the rate mitigation fund or the rate reduction fund, right? So that's that $7 million in funding that would be applied to the rates to keep them down. So the rates you see in the notice, they will be offset for a period of up to 10 years by that mitigation fund. In fact, the plan is that the fact is that the next year you'll be seeing the same effective rates because of the mitigation fund. So the idea is to stabilize the rates as much as possible within that 10-year period, and the city will have some discretion as to how to apply that. Other things on the 20th, we'd like to do some other setup work as anticipated, including selecting your advisory board that will consist of both officials and residents. And this will be the official interface between Aquarian and the city of Ansonia, in terms of weighing in on rates, service, and everything in between. There's also some other legal matters that we'll need to take care of at that meeting, including setting up the essential final change of the ordinance. As you know, the Board of Aldermen, our last ordinance change, took on the role of the WPCA, and the next step will be to phase that out completely to be coinciding with the closing on the actual WPCA. That date is December 2nd. So right now the scheduled closing date is December 2nd, but we have work to do until that time, and all of the drafts of the transfer, which include all assets to be transferred, and all questions relative to that, and it will all be answered ahead of the closing. I'm really hoping for the 20th to be the date where we go through the drafts, where we have those discussions. So the 20th is a big date to circle on your calendars of this month. And then, of course, December 2nd, the planned closing. So that's WPCA. Moving on from there, the mayor mentioned the toy show that we're going to have at the Armory on December 1st. We're putting that first ever event together to benefit very specifically the Ansonia Library. So all the funds collected, it's a $5 cover charge, plus all the vendors' costs, All that will be going very specifically to buy books recommended by the Ansonia Library for the children's room. So they're trying to update their children's collection. They do basically have a want list of books that they're looking to update the collection with. And it's our hope that this event could in fact clear that list for them and complete this update to the children's library as soon as December, if we had good showing at this event. And already we have over 30 vendors, so we're doing very good in terms of collecting vendor fees, and we're just hoping the public comes out to support it. And of course, it's a great opportunity for you to do your holiday shopping. A lot of these are vintage toys, so this will probably be holiday shopping that you didn't get done in 1986 or 1987. So if you didn't get that Transformer or that, that Masters of the Universe figure or that Care Bear, now is the time to come down to the Armory and pick it up. It's going to be slightly more expensive, however, depending on condition. Also, library issues, the Winnebago. The library board will be meeting with the city at their December meeting. I'm putting together a budget plan for the bookmobile. This is the Winnebago that was very generously donated by our amazing partner, Griffin Hospital. They had used that Winnebago to do community service, such as give out bicycle helmets, to supplement, I believe, some of their vaccine efforts. Well, this Winnebago will now be repurposed as likely a traveling bookmobile to service our community. A lot of potential here. And this is going to be the first opportunity for the board to weigh in with some of their vision and to start the important steps of getting this costed out so we can create and then fund a budget to get up and running. It is our goal to get this project complete by spring of 2025 so we can put it into action for the summer. Other than that, I have some updates in executive session, but I'd be more than happy to take your questions in the meantime.
I just want to go back to the mayor. I forgot to give this to the mayor. I'm sorry, because I know that he would have mentioned this. I want to congratulate the 9U is 10-0, and they will be playing in Seymour on Sunday. I mean, they will be playing against Seymour in Waterbury. So if they win that game, the next game is in Massachusetts. And we may be coming to you for a bus. And if they win that game, then we're going to Florida. So I just want to put that out there. Congratulations to the 9U team. They are 10-0.
Wow.
Chicago.
That's wonderful.
Chicago, it might be a Winnebago, but
But I can say that the Winnebago, even if it was up and running, is likely not large enough. Be a little cramped in the Winnebago.
Yeah,
but
it's
I wish.
For
32
Chicago,
Yeah.
useless stat. My cousin's son is the quarterback for that team, Brady.
Oh, really?
Yeah, useless stat.
Oh, okay.
Perfect. Yeah.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, he's got a rifle of an arm for the age that he is. He was throwing 25, 30-yard bombs, which was surprising.
Yeah, I know. I've seen him in action.
very good.
Mr.
we
President,
have a
one more item that I didn't mention, and this is something I think that both Kurt and Sheila will follow up on. But last month, we put in motion the fuel cell power project with JCI, with Johnson Controls. And the city has been meeting on a bi-weekly basis with Johnson Controls. And they're getting a tremendous response from potential tenants. And of course, for those listening in for the first time, JCI project is essentially a fuel cell that has the capability of growing into a full-out power grid on the copper and brass site. And this has the opportunity not only to make the city money through the sale of energy, but also to provide a very strong incentive for good tenants to locate on the copper and brass site. Tenants in need of large amounts of power, with the hope of attracting really the highest and best use to that site for the purpose of revenue. And you're talking about revenue to keep taxes down. You're talking about revenue to reinvest into city services, from education to the roads. So the idea is to get tenants that will be coming into the city to pay a lease price, pilot payments. There's the potential for making offers to own. And they have been seeing tenants, we understand, almost on a daily basis. The interest is so tremendous. And so we do hope by next month to present a bit of information on the coming next steps to secure tenants, to sort of expand the project already. Things are moving fast. So just to let you know, already very, very strong response to this project and a very bright future ahead in terms of making sure that this copper and brass facility, this old industrial facility, is once again the source, the economic engine, the source of revenue and opportunity for the city of Ansonia.
Terrific. Any other questions for John tonight from the Alderman? All right, we will move on to Director of Economic Development, Sheila O'Malley.
Good evening, President Stewart, members of the Board of Aldermen. As John mentioned, lots of bids going out shortly. We will have a bid for the engineering firm to accompany DeCarlo and Dow on the rec fields. We're going to have, we are ready with the animal shelter bid specs to put those out as well for a design build. We are bidding out building 12, which is the remaining building on the SHW site that will clear space all the way to the train tracks, which will also set the stage for what John was talking about with the fuel cell, the access road, and the site pads and future tenants. So all of those things are going out. 4 bridges were taken down. I'm not sure if anyone noticed. The railroad Metro North was thrilled. We got those down in time for them to start back up with the trains. 2 walking bridges and 2 pipe bridges were taken down with a grant that we secured on our own. In any event, let's see, we had a new restaurant. The mayor had celebrated a grand opening, and some of our Board of Aldermen were there as well. It's a new Salvadorian restaurant on North Main Street. I'm going to butcher the name, but it's Pupuseria Acajutia. Yeah, forgive me. I hope they forgive me. That doesn't sound right, but something like that. On the 21st of November, CEDF and the SBA are going to do a presentation for our businesses on how they can access capital funding for small businesses, and we're especially concentrating that forum on the underserved areas. But we'll get out a press release and a Facebook announcement and put something on our city site as well. So we're going to try to target underserved areas, small businesses in our census tract areas, try to get them access to federal funds, loan funds that they may not be aware of. And that will be on the 21st of November. And then there's a lot, the solar carport project. Just the next phase is just energizing them. I don't know if you've gone by there, but most of the panels have been laid, and there's additional work with the poles, etc. But we need to energize the panels so that everything's in good working order. And there will be a large federal grant that we applied for and we secured, and I'll let the mayor make that announcement as soon as we have more details, but it's a good announcement. Worked hard putting the grant together and securing the funds, so that's coming up. Are there any questions?
Thank you,
Yes.
Sheila.
Yeah, thanks, Sheila.
Joe. You're welcome, Tony.
Thank you.
Just, do you have
Yep.
an update on Colony, Sheila? What's happening over there?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been by in the last week or two, but I know that the seeding was done and the irrigation is finished. And I'm
Yeah,
not
in
sure.
in terms of prep for next season, that has been complete. So we're satisfied that both the upper and the lower field are now in where they should be to be playable for spring season. So that's certainly a relief for everyone. You know, we've been making efforts to not only, you know, get the upper field back into shape, but there's an expanded area now with the lower field that has now been seeded in time, watered, and now prepared to be grown in for the spring. As we know, you know, soccer has seen just an absolute increase, an influx of interest and players of all ages. So, you know, we want to be prepared to take the stress off of the nature center, which has absorbed quite a bit of the activity since Colony's been offline. But yeah, this is a very significant announcement to be confident now to say that Colony will be back online for the spring season, and also with expanded capacity, and also proofed from the flooding issues that had really plagued it for years and years prior to its closure about 2 years ago.
Okay. Thanks, John. Thanks, Sheila. Sheila, my usual monthly Olson seems like, you know, they're pushing
Oh.
deep into the corner.
Thank-
It looks like they're processing a lot of the
Yeah.
lot of the soil there.
Thanks for
What's happening
reminding
next?
me. Yeah, thanks, Tony. I apologize. I was gonna give an Olson update. Preparing material for reuse for the field and the parking lot. So phase 2 would be the soccer field, parking lots, and other lesser amenities and some other soil management and control. And that's what we're moving into, which is on the, oh boy, I hope I have the right, on the south side. South side, wait a minute, phase 2 is gonna be on, yes, on the south side. So,
Okay, I have
Okay.
a question.
yes, sir.
Franklin.
Franklin, yep.
Never.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just I didn't think
Before the snow flies, I hope.
I didn't think it can get worse, but you know, I was proven
It's
wrong again,
bad.
month
Yeah,
over month.
It's very bad.
Yeah,
When they are completed, hopefully by the end of this month, they're gonna start. I don't think they can start on the paving until the warmer weather, so. it'll
That
be
cannot stay like
complete.
that. That can't stay like that all
It
winter,
will
though,
not.
Sheila.
No, it will not. Will not.
Okay.
And again, we're gonna complement that road, curb to curb road paving with sidewalks, so,
Okay. I did have one last one, Sheila.
yes.
I think you said building 12. When was the demo gonna pick back up on that?
I'm sorry, Tony.
The demo on building 12 to the tracks, when did you say that was gonna pick up again?
We're putting the bid out next week. So it'll take, you know, we'll expect 3 weeks bids to be returned, and hopefully within, I mean, as long as the weather, actually, it doesn't even matter. It could be snowing, but hope to get that out or work started within a month.
Didn't what we did for Stanford Wrecking, didn't that cover that, or no?
We got
I
a
think it was
waiver
Stanford
for
Wrecking.
Stanford Wrecking because of the time constraints with the
Yep.
train schedule.
Yep.
And Stanford Wrecking was able to get that waiver because DECD said, all right, they did building 11. They're out
Okay.
there anyway, cleaning up. So it's,
Yep.
you know, I guess they saw the wisdom in that, but you know, they are required DECD. Unfortunately, these grants come with a lot of strings, and they are requiring us to put building 12 back out to bid, even though I maintain building in 11 and 12 are the same building. They just named them 2 different buildings. They named them differently. The wall in between is thin. It was just an add-on. So yeah, unfortunately, we're gonna have to put it back out to bid.
Okay.
For building 12, but good question.
Yeah, Stanford Wrecking did a fabulous job. It looks, they did a great job. So hopefully they come back around again.
They did. We had AIA prior to them, and they also did a great job. So yeah, but Stanford has been top notch.
All right.
Sheila,
Thanks,
I have a
Sheila.
question when you're done.
Yes.
Where are we on State Street completion?
Yep. I mean, the reconstruction of State Street will not happen until spring of 25. So, hopefully everybody else will be out of there by then, and DOT will award the final, the final notice to proceed. We're estimating spring of 25, long drawn out process. And only because, and I appreciate the extra funding from DOT, but that enlarged the scope of the project and added on months that
Yeah.
weren't initially anticipated. But I think the project with its connecting roads and widening the scope ultimately made sense. So, it'll be nice once it's completed. I'm tired of talking about it, and I'm sure everyone's tired of hearing about it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Sheila, just
Yes, sir.
to follow up on Tony's question regarding Franklin Street. We have a similar situation on State Street and partially up North State and Johnson and Pleasant. Where that construction is going on, right?
Yeah.
The road is full of ruts. I'm not sure it can be left like that over the winter.
Can't be. Yeah, it can't. They're gonna have to put and the mayor would know better than I do, but a skim coat on or something to smooth out the surface so we don't stay this way.
Okay, so you're on top of that.
Yeah, we will be
okay.
demanding that. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
All right, any last minute questions for economic development tonight from the aldermen? All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Moving on, Police Chief Wayne Williams, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Just a quick update on some personnel. We have 3 officers in the academy. We did have 1 officer transferred to our agency from the NYPD. He's currently in his training on Connecticut laws. He does not have to go to a full academy, which is good news. Then he'll start his field training program. So it cuts his training time probably a third or a quarter of what normally is needed. We do have 7 open police officer positions that we have people in multiple phases of testing, but we are still taking applications on a rolling application process. We did receive a grant we applied for and received a grant from the state of Connecticut for DUI holiday enforcement. So we'll be adding extra patrols throughout the holidays. Citywide events, the mayor touched on it. Halloween, the night before Halloween, they went off without a hitch for us. It was very warm out, so there was a very large crowd, especially on Wakely Avenue. Anybody who managed to make their way onto Wakely Avenue, they know what I'm talking about. It was a massive crowd out there. Unfortunately, on October 26th, we did have a shooting in a parking lot at St. Sebastian's on Father Salemi at the conclusion of a private party that was being held there. Both victims are recovering. I want to take a minute. If you have not seen it, I would ask that you go to our website. I want to thank the officers that were involved in the creation of a domestic violence video for the police department. That video was completed by Officer Semeraro, Officer Ribeiro, with assistance from Sergeant Nelson and Dispatcher AWOL. It was very well done. It has circulated around the state. Channel 3 even picked it up and did an interview with the officers on one of their daytime shows. So we did get a lot of kudos for that, and I've heard from other chiefs from around the state. So I wanted to just thank those officers for taking on that task. I also want to thank the Board of Ed and Meade School for the awesome Veterans Day ceremony that was held yesterday. The staff and students once again outdid themselves. I appreciated the invite to speak at the event alongside Mayor Cassetti and Superintendent DeBacco. They do a great job at that school every year with that event, truly honoring the veterans. You may have seen some news coverage from the New Haven Police Department. They did a press conference last week. We are joining forces with them, plus federal and state agencies to combat the stolen vehicle epidemic that is spreading across the state. There are specific groups of gangs in New Haven and other major cities that are responsible for a large number of the stolen vehicles, vehicle break-ins, robberies, etc. New Haven is taking the lead role in this task force, and we are working with them, prosecutors, etc. So I hope this will help combat the problem. They've already started tackling the problem, so hopefully we'll see some great results with that. I want to remind you, our annual Stuff a Jeep is usually held at Stop and Shop. Unfortunately, it is not going to be held there this year because they're obviously no longer in business. But hold on one second. I had the date up here and my computer just blinked out on me. But we do have the ceremony coming up. It's the 22nd, and Target has partnered with us. So we're looking for a new partner. Target jumped in, and they are partnering with us with obviously Fitzpatrick's, who will be supplying us the Jeeps for the event. It's from 11 to 5 on the 22nd. So I'd appreciate if anybody wants to come down and donate to our Stuff a Jeep. It benefits all of our residents in the state, in the area. Lastly, I want to wish you all a happy and safe Thanksgiving. I'll take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for the chief?
Yes, I have one. Chief, I just want to thank you for having the patrols come up to our Pop Warner games, and we had no issues at all, because there was always a presence up there. So I just want to thank you for that, because parents today a little highly charged over a youth game. So I want to thank you for that.
Yeah, not a problem. I think the presence alone usually stems that, but
Yeah.
I do always expect better from some parents, but I know that sometimes it gets a little heated, but we'll manage our way through it. We just got to remember that it's youth sports.
Exactly.
Other questions for the chief?
Josh, I have one.
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Through you, I don't know, can the chief speak to what he might be doing about street takeovers? I know we sent officers to another town last week and they were pretty close to us. Is that same task force gonna help out with the street takeovers?
Yeah, so I wish I could tell you that there's groups that are doing this, and the one that we're targeting is based out of New Haven. And I don't want to name their group because I don't want to give them any more publicity than they're already getting. But they are involved in the street takeovers as well. I will tell you that they shut down I-95 on the Q Bridge last week, doing a street takeover with stolen vehicles. The stolen vehicles, there's two different types. There's the kids in the stolen cars that are causing the street takeovers, but then there are other groups that are doing street takeovers that are in vehicles that are registered. We have been, boy, I even hate to say it, we've been pretty lucky with them. When they have come into town, we've been able to shut them down pretty quickly and get them out of town. It is an overwhelming thing. They do, when they come into town, there's usually 200 to 300 vehicles, and there's really no municipality in the state that can handle that all at once. So what we do is we send officers, and the one you're referring to was over in Derby, and we sent officers over there to assist the Derby PD. So the same thing happens when they show up in our town. The state police will show up, Derby, Seymour, Shelton, whatever towns are involved. I can tell you the task force isn't targeting those groups, but some of those groups are also involved in all the stolen vehicles. So yes, it's somewhat targeting them. It's kind of a hard way to answer that because there's two different types of street takeovers that take place.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else for the chief? All right, well, thank you again for coming.
You're welcome, sir.
Next up, we'll go to Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Joseph DeBacco.
Good evening, President Stewart and members of the Board of Aldermen. First, I do want to thank Paige Diaz, a fifth grader from Prendergast. She did a lot better job than all of us. And I appreciate that. I'm glad it worked out. I do want to start with a big thank you to members of the Board of Aldermen and also members of the Board of Education. Due to the ability for us to use our non-lapsing account, we purchased new curriculum, as you know. And as a result, our wonderful teachers and staff were asked to present in Hartford on October 10th at a conference called Performance Matters. But that all stems from our ability to purchase new curriculum, which I can't say thank you enough for that non-lapsing account and utilization of those funds. So that's a big thank you. I did want to give Chief Williams and the Ansonia PD a lot of kudos. On October 30th, we were victims of a swatting attempt as they went across the state. Many districts were impacted by it, but one thing that I have to say is trust but verify. I mean, Chief Williams sent people to our schools to make sure that even though we were informed prior that these attempts were going to be happening, we sent boots on the ground. Chief sent people to verify, to make sure that nothing was actually happening. And I can tell you that I was contacted by 2 superintendents where in other districts where the call was dismissed and nobody checked or verified, which I can't say thank you enough to Chief Williams and Ansonia PD, because we made sure that our kids were safe. And I have to tell you, after getting those 2 phone calls from the other superintendents, I couldn't be happier that I have the police force that we have and the chief that we have. So a big thank you. And lastly, I did want to say that on November 11th, on Veterans Day, it's our 23rd ceremony that we had celebrating our veterans at Meade Elementary School. I have to thank both Chief Williams and Mayor Cassetti for always speaking, but always supporting. It is probably my favorite event of all events that we do in all of Ansonia Public Schools. It truly celebrates our veterans. And if you ever have the opportunity to come to Meade on Veterans Day, you should go there. It is an event that really celebrates our community, especially our veterans. And I couldn't be happier and more proud of that event. And I'm here to answer any questions that you do have.
Any questions for Dr. Joe tonight from the Alderman? All right. Get off easy.
I know. Thank you for letting me off easy on this one. I appreciate it. I can go do my homework now.
All right. You're dismissed. All right. So ends public official session. We'll move on to reports, starting with the finance reports.
I'll make a motion to pay all bills if deemed correct, Josh.
Perfect.
Second.
Motion by Mamone, second by Rivers. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? All right, motion carries. Next, we have the boat recommendations that were included in the municipal report.
Motion to accept the recommendations, Josh.
Second.
Motion to accept the boat recommendations by Mamone, second by Cassetti. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? All right, motion carries unanimously. And last one is included with the tax collector report is the request for refunds, or in addition to, in the amount this month of $574.53, if found to be correct.
Motion.
Motion by
Second.
Mamone again, and second again by Cassetti. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstaining? All right, motion carries again. And then we'll move on to just a blanket acceptance and filing for all the other monthly reports that have come in offhand, like the fire marshal, the library, tax collector, all those other reports that were not mentioned previously.
Motion to accept all the other reports, Josh.
Thank you.
And
Motion
a good
Malone.
job on the reports too. I just want to say that.
Yeah, very good. We do read these, so keep them coming.
Yes.
Motion by Mamone, second by Rivers to accept and file. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? All right, motion carries. Let's see. Accidents and claims, we had one, number 10-23-1064. Jeff Palumbo versus City of Ansonia. What's your pleasure?
Motion to refer to council.
Second.
Motion to refer to council by Yaman, second by Rivers. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. That's listed later in the agenda as well. Moving on to appointments. There's 5 total appointments. 4 of these appointments are for the Historical Commission, and 1 is for the Naugatuck Valley Health District. So the 4 nominees, I'll read the names and affiliations and the terms and everything, and then hopefully we can just do a quick vote after each one. First, and these are all reappointments, by the way. First nominee, Thomas P. Clifford III, Democrat, 10 Southwood Westwood Road, term to expire 11/30/2026.
So move.
Adamowski,
Second.
and second by Knott. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstaining? All right. Congratulations. Second one, Michelle Libby, Republican of 256 North State Street, term expiring 12/31/2026.
So move.
Second.
Adamowski, second by Yalman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstaining? All right, motion carries unanimously again. Third one, Bartholomew Flaherty, Democrat, 28 Pinecrest Avenue, term expiring 11/30/2026.
Motion.
Motion by,
Second.
second by Yalman.
Yaman.
Yalman?
Yep.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries unanimously. And the final historical nominee, John Maloney, Republican of Ansonia, P.O. Box 69, term 11/30/2026.
Motion.
Motion by
Second.
Rivers, second by Yalman. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? All right, motion carries unanimously, and congrats to all 4 of those. Those are all 2-year terms, and thank you for your service. And the final one is the Naugatuck Valley Health District. This is a reappointment of Thomas Carney, unaffiliated, of 2 Kruger Court, term 12/31/2026.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Rivers, second by Tar. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, motion carries. We have no communications this month, no resignations, no resolutions, no ordinances.
No.
Do we have any new business?
Mr. President, I have a little bit of new business we might be able to chat about.
Okay, hit it, Bob.
Yes. In the past years, there was a decision made to name any new streets in Ansonia after a mayor. The only exception that I know about was Gracie Lane, and Nick Macero went through the proper channels to try and get that named after, I believe, his grandmother. There's a new cul-de-sac being cut in up on Ford Street, and I saw a preliminary plan for it, and it happens to have the property owner's name listed as the road. And I don't think that we should stray from past procedure. And I think that road should be named after Mayor Del Volpe, who I believe is next in line to have a road named after him. I know it's small for what we do here and how much money we spend and all the other issues that we take into account, but I think we should continue on with naming them after the mayors. And that's all I have.
Is that a public road or is that a private road that's being put in?
Looks to me like it's gonna be a public road. It's the regular street width.
That's
and
a
it
private
goes
road.
in. Oh, you sure about that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's all private property.
Stefano Jaimo
Okay.
owns it. Natal Jaimo.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that's why it's named, that's why the street's listed after him, because it's private, but I'm not-
Yes.
is that true, Mario?
Yeah, I can confirm that.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, but thank you for that historical lesson, by the way. I knew nothing about. I do appreciate that. Any other new business? All right, then we have under old business, we have two items. First one we had talked about previously, the easement proposal, 150 Main Street. John, you want to take that?
Yep, this is 150 Main Street, which you'll recognize right now for being the building that Sweet Eats, the ice cream shop, is in. Previously was a pawn shop some years ago. Good news is a new tenant is coming into that building, likely to be a coffee shop. This request for an easement from the city was made by the owner of 150 Main Street to accommodate this new business, with the idea being the easement would allow the entrance to the facility to be on the side, and also leave a little bit of an area for the coffee shop to operate. City staff has no issue with this. It was sent by this board to Planning and Zoning for the required 824 referral, and Planning and Zoning did opine unanimously in the positive for the granting of this easement. So tonight, if it's the board's pleasure, I would be looking for an authorization to draft the easement. And of course, the way we draft the easement is, of course, to also protect the city, and to make sure the language protects it in case of, in case, and, anything could happen, right, on any property. And so we draft the easement in a way to protect ourselves legally from the potential of any liability. It's not just a matter of saying, hey, here you have an easement. There's a document. There will be an official easement agreement identifying the rights and responsibilities of both parties. But I need to know that this board is okay with that before I go ahead and draft something. And so if you were to say, give a thumbs up to this and say, yes, I would draft something for your review next month.
Hey, John, does the easement go to the property owner or to the business coming in?
So neither. It goes to the property. It runs with the land, or at least to the extent that it's described by the easement. So the easement, of course, can be limited by whatever this board desires. It could be an easement that exists for a period of time. It could be an easement that exists into perpetuity. It could be an easement that exists on certain conditions, but it's not given to the person, right? It's not given to the owner or the tenant. It's actually runs with the land. So it's something that's actually recorded on the land. And so, for example, if it was an easement with no limitation, it would be there for any future person to come in as either the tenant or the owner. But that's subject to our decision as to how to limit it, right?
So we could restrict it. We could restrict it potentially as long as this new business is coming in. And again, if for some, unfortunate reason they moved out of town or didn't make it, we could have the easement expire.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Marini, I thought back a little while ago, we denied an easement to the ice cream shop who wanted to put tables out there or benches. How do we get out of, we denied one business, but we're gonna approve it for another business?
I think what's distinguishable about this one is that it's the side of the building, right? So it's not operating in the sidewalk area in front of the building. And I think that was the distinguishing trait here that everyone was looking at. And this is an area that basically falls into a zone where the city is no longer going to be using the staircase. So if you know this area, you know that there's a staircase that comes up to the Main Street level. That staircase is essentially going to be put offline as we move forward with a pathway to the train station. So I believe we talked about these improvements at a previous meeting, but we're looking essentially to make a path and almost a gateway to the train station through the little pocket park that exists adjacent to 150 Main. And this is all to do relative to the enhancements to the train station that are planned. So the idea is that we're going to make a more attractive entranceway. So this easement would not interfere with that. It would be compatible with the idea that we're getting rid of the staircase. So we're not going to have to worry about people coming up from the staircase now into this easement area. And we feel that it may add a little something for individuals going to the train station through this gateway to also enjoy themselves in this little area that would be maintained by the owner of 150 Main Street pursuant to our easement. But that being said, it's up for discussion to this board, to do your due diligence as to whether or not this is the right thing. Just because you deny an easement for one doesn't mean, you have to deny it for all. There are different situations, different areas where it's either reasonable or not reasonable.
I think, I think that a access to a coffee shop from this, easy access to a coffee shop from the train station is a real plus for the area.
Yeah.
Joe Cassetti?
Yes, through you, Josh. John, do you need a motion to investigate this further or to give you the power to do it?
Be a motion to authorize me to draft it, and if you'd like to give me any comments now about what you'd like to see in terms of conditions, and now would certainly be a good time, or, we could discuss it once I get a draft. Obviously, it's all at your board's pleasure. But I am looking for a thumbs up to do it because I don't want to draft something if the board is not in favor of it. You know what I mean? I don't want to waste the time and take the time to do that if it's not your pleasure.
I made a motion already.
Initiate a draft.
Jeez.
Oh. Who is that?
I said I make a motion to initiate a draft.
All right, I'll second it.
Motion by Cassetti, second by Rivers. Any further discussion on that, or we're just?
Just
Point of discussion.
one comment,
Is the
Josh,
easement
when
for
Tony's
the
done.
concrete area or the whole parcel along the side of the building?
The concrete area that's in front of where the stairwell is now, on the side of the building.
That makes sense. I mean, we're just moving an entrance and it's already in place, so it'd make it probably actually easier for traffic on Main Street. The grass area would make a great little dog park with all our new tenants downtown. I noticed an excessive amount of pets and dogs and dog residue being left along Main Street. So maybe we can use that other part. I mean, it's not a big
Not
area.
a
It's
bad
not great,
idea.
Yeah.
but it'll concentrate more of the excrement in one area rather than in Veterans Park and along every tree on Main Street. So I'm thinking maybe we can designate the grassy area, for people to bring their pets, and the easement sounds like a good idea, actually.
Yeah, great
But
idea,
I'm
Dan.
concerned with the grassy part that, there is use for it. We can use that.
Yeah.
Good point.
Great. All right. So we have a motion, a second. It seems like universal support. So all in
Wait,
favor?
hold on.
Wait,
Hold on. There was another point of discussion.
Oh.
Hold on.
One more comment from me too, Josh, when Tony's
Go ahead,
done.
Joe.
Alman, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, John, in terms of the easement, I mean, I'm in favor of the easement. I think the only restriction that it's in my head is running as long as I guess as the structure's in place. I don't necessarily think it needs to be restricted to the ownership or the particular business, but I mean, as long as the structure is there, I think the owner of that structure should be responsible for it and or the tenant. And we should be able, the easement should revert back if that structure no longer exists.
Yeah, good, Joe.
Joe, structure as in the business or structure as in the building?
The building itself. I don't, in terms of, because it's an add-on in terms of not only being able to sell it to somebody else and it running with the business and being able to put a tenant in there, Tony, that's from my perspective. Whether it's a coffee shop, an ice cream shop, something else, I just think there's value added there. And I just think as long as the building's in place and it's got that staircase, which is, is going to bring foot traffic through from the train station, there's a selling point there. And I think as long as the building's in existence, I think it can kind of run with it. That's my thinking.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Joe Cassetti again?
Yeah, excuse me. Would it require any performance of maintenance and lighting in that area?
Well, in terms of maintenance, I think the easement agreement would make clear that since the owner of 150 is getting the benefit, that they will take responsibility for the maintenance.
Okay.
In terms of lighting, that would be more of a city responsibility, but I believe this area is already a trafficked area. It's interesting because I think that our engineers could eventually talk a little more about the rest of the improvements in this area. I don't think that lighting was a part of that, and I'm not sure if that's even necessary. But again, the idea was that grassy area there was going to feature a path right down from Main Street through that
Yeah.
path to the train station.
And if I'm not mistaken, there's a street light right above
Yeah.
that grassy area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
John,
Thank you.
we're still talking to DOT about that. We may have to revise our plan with the winding pathway through the green space. So we'll give
The
you an
dog
update
park
at the
idea
next.
maybe could be just incorporated or discussed then, and if an alternative is needed, because it's good to make some use of that pocket park there.
Yes.
All right, any other comments or questions?
I think it would be cute to see something like that there.
Can we,
All right, so if that's it, I could go ahead with the draft and present it back to you in December.
Well, we'll vote on it first.
Wait,
All-
during Harvest Festival, isn't that where the petting zoo is?
Might
I
be.
don't know.
I
think you're right, but
I'm sure we could relocate the petting zoo.
All right, I mean, I mean, that's a good spot for the petting zoo. I'm just wondering if there's like, I mean, they do the pony rides, the petting zoo. It's a big attraction during Harvest Festival. I'm wondering if, I don't know, on that day or something that we can have access to that for the specifics of Harvest Festival use.
Well, we're not giving up the grass, Bobby. We're giving up just the concrete
No, I
corner there.
understand, but we don't want to be in a situation where they're saying we're blocking their building and people can't get in and out that side entrance. I mean, I'm just thinking ahead because I know we use that whole space during Harvest Festival.
I think for
So if we're
one day,
giving
it
up-
wouldn't be a
If we're
problem.
giving up that property, giving them an easement to use it, it's for their use technically, right?
Yes, that area, yes. I mean,
then we
an
should-
easement, it could be obviously shared, right? But if they're gonna
Right.
set up tables in that area and you have, say, a llama, that may be
They're
incompatible.
not, the
just in
petting
the same
zoo
place at the same time.
isn't in the same area as where we're talking about where the easement is. Easement is on the concrete on the.
Is adjacent to the building directly to its
Yeah,
side.
it's not.
Directly
totally
right
its
on
side
that
entrance,
walkway,
not in the
though.
grassy
Yeah.
area.
No, not, yeah.
All right. I
Not
mean, I just want to make sure it
bad.
doesn't interfere with that.
any other comments on this exciting issue of an easement? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion carries. John, work it up. I think Dan King's available for dog walking. I think he made that clear that he was available to walk dogs if needed.
I'll bring my scooper.
Pooper scooper.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Other item under old business, it says presentation, recommendation of city fields, and I see we have
So,
Ron.
We
Ron
did want
Knopf.
to give the board a little look into the current proposals. And so our city engineers, DeCarlo and Dahl, are with us tonight. So I'll take a brief second to kind of describe the process to this point. We did impanel a great board, our rec advisory committee, that put a lot of work into this, at least 6 months. This board consisted of representatives from really across the board, whether it be high school sports, rec sports, talking about football, softball, soccer, really a diverse group of interests, intended to cover sports throughout the city. And they were given kind of a difficult task, which is to sit down with city staff and DeCarlo and Dahl and to take a look at each field in the city. And they started with a wish list on each field. Each group had the opportunity in a joint session to propose different ideas for different fields, what they would like to see. And then slowly they whittled it down to what they would believe to be the ideal use of the 10 million plus in funds that we have for the citywide project. And they put a lot of work, a lot of thought into it. And quite amazingly, they essentially did end up with a unanimous approval of a preliminary plan for the citywide sites. And as I've said, this is still at the beginning of this process in a sense, that we're looking to bring another engineer on to review these plans with DeCarlo and Dahl, to kind of take a look at, is it the best it could be, both cost-wise, protect our taxpayers, and also use-wise, because everyone agrees that we want to get this right the first time. But this is our big shot to really take a big step forward for recreation and athletics throughout the city, for all intents and all purposes, for all groups, and everyone wants to get this right. So the more eyes on it, the better. But you've seen the plans, I think, on paper. Just to kind of bring you through them and to answer any questions you have in the preliminary, we have Ron Nault here from DeCarlo and Dahl. And again, this is certainly not the last time that you're going to be hearing of the evolution of these plans. It's now the Board of Aldermen's turn to get involved. And I'm saying that after this meeting, a small subcommittee of the Board of Aldermen, I think, to start to kind of work on this intensively, and not just with the engineers as they come on board, but also with our partners at the Board of Education. So with that, I can turn it over to Ron, and I can help with the screen share if needed.
Good. Thank you, John. And if you could show the Nolan Field option B. Excuse me, I'm out of town on a trip to visit my granddaughter, but I'm fully engaged in this, and it's been a great project to, as John said, to kind of funnel all the different advisory committee wants and needs or whatever. And what you will see on the figure that John will show is what finally helped kind of gel from the whole process. John, I'm seeing a half of it. Is there a full? There you go.
Can you see it?
So what came to pass through all of the meetings and the request from the town soccer committee, Little League baseball, et cetera, was to try to improve all of their facilities across town. And so this is the crown jewel of Ansonia. It's a pleasure to work on this facility as a proud history of Ansonia sports. And so what we found was the best bang for the city's buck to enable additional improvements at other fields was to focus a lot of our efforts at Nolan Field and first and foremost create a football field and baseball field of artificial turf that will enable play in all weather. Football obviously, wishes to play in good weather, but can play in the mud. Baseball is a whole nother story, and this will give the baseball program an all-weather field overall. But this will be a football field first and foremost. In the process of doing that, we'll be fixing the bleachers at Nolan Field. We'll be rehabbing the lighting system to be new LED, saving electricity, better lighting overall, and enable baseball to be played at night as well. The discussion centered around what facilities to create up at Prindle Charger Field near the high school, wishing to supply the soccer program a proper equal facility. And the work that was needed up at Prindle, we would have needed a new, better access road with parking and ambulance facilities. We would have needed new power feed to get to Prindle Field, and then to build the bleacher and other infrastructure. An idea that developed with our landscape architect subconsultant was why not make Nolan, the facility? So that's what's shown here. This in different seasons, as you can envision, will be high school softball. It'll be, city recreational field softball, and also the high school full soccer, boys and girls high school soccer program. And when you prepare a soccer field, you paint other fields. So would also be in a minor way painted for lacrosse or another program that might develop. But this would be your football, your high school football, your high school baseball, your high school softball, and your high school soccer programs, all on one artificial turf field that is playable, 30 minutes after the worst rainstorm you can imagine, et cetera, unlike, a turf field that turns to mud. In the process, we'd also, because of the economics, be creating a little league turf baseball field here as well. In addition, and I know I don't want to dig too deep, but we'd be rehabbing the 3 tennis courts to serve the high school tennis program. We'd be protecting the existing water park area, and where the committee voted the current basketball field, court, we'd be moving that with a 4th tennis court / pickleball court over to the north area where they park tractor trailers off of the road. So we'd be retaking that area of the field. So Nolan Field would become the city's prime complex for overall recreation. In addition, and within budget, we'd be doing work at the Nature Center and Apestone Park, et cetera. But so the field work that's shown here, including the courts and stuff, is estimated at $6.8 million. And then there's $1.2 million reserved for building work here at Nolan. And it was presented to the committee to renovate Kennedy Fieldhouse and renovate the concession stand, or to look at another option of reconstructing the concession stand area in a new kind of a prefab building that would be public restrooms, concession, and field storage, like the goalpost pads, et cetera, and doing minor renovations at Kennedy. So that's the work that still needs to gel, and we look forward to, obviously, the Board of Aldermen and the city input. But all of this fits within the budget of the grant, or I'm sorry, the bonding amount, and would give the city facility to be proud of here at Nolan Field, and then use the additional money to pursue improvements at the Nature Center and at Apestone Park. John, does that cover things as we saw them?
I can go through the other slides if you'd like.
Sure. So this is the work that's shown at the Nature Center. So the city's also getting a kind of a twofer in that the good topsoil that's been cultivated at Nolan Field, as in the site preparation to make it an artificial turf field, that topsoil could be used and moved to make the grass fields at the Nature Center and at Apestone better topsoil, flatter, et cetera. So at the Ansonia Nature Center, a U13, larger, older kids soccer field, as well as a U11 rec soccer would be reconstructed up at the Nature Center. All right, and then Apestone, please. So Nelligan actually would benefit from, we know that the outfield at Nelligan is wet and troublesome to play during early spring. We believe that that could be rehabilitated as part of a city flood control project that's also occurring in the area, and make Nelligan, at the very least, a backup playable field facility for the city without a lot of money or work. And then finally, Abe Stone. So Abe Stone would be a soccer center for youth soccer, a larger, older kids field, a couple of smaller, younger kids, and then even youth soccer as well, up at Abe Stone. And that would benefit from the work that's being done up at Nolan as well. So in the process, upgrade a bunch of the city's recreation facilities, and create a crown jewel at Nolan.
Okay, thank you, Ron. And so as we explained, our next steps right now, parallel to everything, an RFQ is out to bring on, I would say a second set of eyes, an engineer to be working with DeCarlo and Dahl to make sure this proposal is as feasible as possible, right? In terms of both cost and in terms of actual use. And DeCarlo and Dahl and that engineer, once selected, would work with this board to get that ultimate proposal into shape as bid specs, to go out to bid for the actual construction of the project. And parallel with that effort, our Board of Aldermen, through its subcommittee, sort of acting as the hub for this project, would also be able to do outreach with our partners at the Board of Education to talk about potential for additional funding, to pull any possible resources or assistance into this project to make our taxpayers' money go as far as possible. Again, it's everyone's intention for this project to be done once, to be done right, and to really take a huge step forward for recreation in the city. Any questions, any thoughts at this point in time?
I have one.
Go ahead.
What's the lifespan on that AstroTurf? I hear Derby already talking, which I consider a new field, and Derby's already considering replacing the AstroTurf, said its lifespan has been depleted.
I live in a town where my kids played football and sports, so we begged to try to get a turf field, and we just recently replaced ours at 12 years. And I hear that pretty commonly. The manufacturers will warranty it for 8 years, but I think that it's safe to say that with some care, because the positioning of, as you've seen in the middle of a football field, between the hash marks, it gets beat up, but you reposition the sand and rubber crumble or whatever and care for it. But I dare say 8 years would be a minimum of what you could count on.
Thank you. I only asked the question. I'm not a sports guy and I never was, but I heard when the new mayor Derby took over, that was one of the things on his capital improvement list was to replace that turf up there because it's lived its life. Thank you.
Just one question, John, if I can, of Ron. In terms of drainage, I know you had talked about being able to withstand a lot of water and whatnot, but in particular over closer to the Little League field where the basketball court is projected to be moved. There is that slight sort of decline coming off of the highway, right behind that area. Does that create different drainage problems, or has that been considered in terms of the sloping there and how, because everything seems to wash down. I've been over there during Little League games and a lot of water moves.
And so in the process of creating the new, expensive infrastructure of a turf field, we would, at that toe of the embankment, have an edge drain that would collect and improve that. It hasn't probably been done now because it didn't become enough of a nuisance, but once you have a new field to protect, you would, while you're in the process, you would do that edge perimeter drain properly.
Okay, and to that same area also has a sort of that little snack stand that's there that services the baseball field. Is that in the plans to stay in that same area and just be renovated?
So we didn't, our thoughts were to combine all of the, kind of the manned facilities over between the north end of the football end zone and the softball fields. We would hope that would be a good central spot, even not too bad a walk from the Little League field to gel for public restrooms, concessions, and field storage, bases, football, end zone pads, etc.
Okay, so in that same right then is that area between that sort of sloping area on the side, is there going to be a greater path for people to move in that general direction? Because right now you have to walk onto the field pretty much.
So you're right. So there'll be full ADA accessible pathways and even just common sense proper pathways.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question. What's the approximate cost if we had to redo that field in 8 years?
Excellent question. Once you build the infrastructure of creating an artificial turf field, so I don't mean to bore you, but so at your existing Nolan field, you'd have to remove, hog out, it's a term, all of the topsoil and the organic soil that's been growing grass, even as challenged as it's been at Nolan Field, but growing grass. All that soil material would go away, and that's the soil that we hope would be used to improve Abe Stone and the Nature Center, staying as natural grass fields. But you dig down approximately 12 inches and then start building back up in a crushed stone layer, and then a smaller stone dust layer and a pad that kind of mimics how you can envision carpet being placed in your house. You have a plywood floor, then you have a pad, then you have the carpet. The artificial turf is the carpet, and that 12 inches of excavated topsoil going off-site and coming back as crushed stone would create the drainage layer that would enable you to play on these surfaces, almost immediately after it rains. They're pretty incredible.
No, I'm saying, what is the cost of
the cost
that carpet on the top?
So once you've done the base work, removing the topsoil, putting in the drainage layers, you're just replacing the turf, the grass and sand, rubber infill surface or whatever. I think that's a third of the cost of a full field construction. So in this case, if we're considering that the Nolan and baseball field to redo in its full new form from what it exists now is $2 million, I think replacing the turf is on the order of 1/3 of that, $800,000 in 10 years, 8 years.
That's football and baseball fields, or that's
Yes.
just the football field?
Yeah, it's just because you won't even recognize it anymore. It'll be all one turf structure painted as baseball and football. But yes, that the entire facility.
So if we just had to replace the football part of it, can they do that or do
No,
they?
you're right. You could do exactly that and cut the cost in half. I mean, it's half baseball, half football.
Okay.
But the cost is gonna go up in 8 years, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you put that in your capital plan though, guys. So price went up, even in the past 4 years, everything has, just about gone up 30%. So You know, I think
Exactly.
you put that in your capital plan, you would put, so much, and we probably, need Kurt or Kim, to kind of look at that for us to say, how much of the capital plan are we investing each year to go into that, so that when we get to year 8 or year 12 or year whatever it is, we're not starting out with nothing, Bob. We're going to have,
Right.
I don't want to say a stockpile of money, but you do have funds there to replace that when it comes time to, when it is time to replace it.
And there is the offsets as well in the same regard, Bob, recognizing the savings that you're going to have from having a turf field without regular maintenance and whatnot, and upkeep and things of that nature as well. So that's sort of a savings that helps offset it as well.
Yeah.
Joe, I'm not against it at all. That number seemed a little low to me.
No, it's a fair question though, Bob, for sure, because that's something definitely everybody thinks, I'm going to channel I think it's Ron Popeil, set it and forget it, and you can't. I think, even day one, when the project is done, it needs to get into the capital plan, within that, next year, to start thinking, long term, it's a big cost, not something you just want to absorb 1 year, and it's something that they should, we should allocate for in the capital plan.
Right.
Yeah, I think that could be done with the savings of, the maintenance, the guys down there cutting the grass and seeding and
Right.
so it's, yeah. Okay, I'm seeing it now.
Yeah, the labor itself, Chicago, the public works labor will just be redirected somewhere else. So that's kind of an indirect manpower save, but saving, seeding and stuff like that, line work, all that other stuff, we're not going to have to do any longer. So you'll save some of the soft costs there.
Right.
And then potentially any field rentals, if we decide to rent it out, any, rental revenue that we have, that's also, we can kind of put similar. I think Derby's doing something similar, just put that right towards, the plan for quote unquote replacement, as it comes.
Yeah.
I would also say there are packages that you could buy. For instance, Municipal Stadium in Waterbury, they bought a maintenance package. So depends on how long that maintenance package runs for and how much you want to spend on that. That's
Right.
another option.
Now,
Is that like the guy that keeps calling me for his my car warranty, Sheila?
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly the
Just
same.
like that.
just like that.
Thanks.
Now, the other thing I just thought about, how would Rock the Valley be impacted because it's a turf field now?
Yeah, that's an event that may have to be repositioned,
Okay. Yeah,
right? Because obviously, if it's not an activity that could occur on a turfed field, simply can't occur on a turfed field. But you do have other options available. You obviously even have an agreement being made with the folks putting in the downtown complex on Olson Drive to use that for city events a number of times per year. So there are other options to navigate around. But yeah, I mean, the priority is clearly the sports and the ideal experience for the kids.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to add two things. Number one, you really had an excellent advisory board. I see some members here tonight listening along, but you really had an excellent board in that they not only went above and beyond to be looking out for the kids and the programs, but they really did have the taxpayers in mind as well, trying to be as efficient and as effective as possible. And truly, they jumped on the opportunity to efficiently slate a lot of these uses for Nolan Field in a way that allowed them to zero in on only those other fields that were key to getting the absolute most value out of. And so they really were great in terms of taking everything into consideration, including the dollars. And when you take a look at Nolan Field, I think the point was raised by Ron, but also the lighting is key for anyone thinking about it, because you're not only consolidating in one area, right? Those lights increase playable hours. So you're opening up the possibility really to be playing in an increased capacity that solves a lot of field space problems. You simply didn't have the lights to do that. And now you're talking about that entire facility with modern LED lighting that allows you to play more games at home, more games overall, and with those dual fields to simply accommodate more. Scheduling will be needed. You know, I think that the city is going to have to step up with a real consistent and diligent approach to scheduling all the uses, but you're getting a lot of use from it if it's completed in that fashion. The other thing is, I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up. The board did feel strongly about trying to tackle the field house, but there was a consensus that truly that project is not something that this budget, that a $10 million budget could fairly meet without sacrificing important upgrades on fields. Ron did look at a true rebuild of that field house. And I think, Ron, the number you gave us, it was exceeding $4 or $5 million. So it's not like you're going to use this budget to satisfy a new field house, but everyone felt strongly that possibly that we look at that being a next phase of this project, or if we could work with our partners at the Board of Ed to see if we can get the money to go further, that would certainly be an element that could be added on in some capacity. If not in this phase again, then maybe in the next phase, as everyone believes that our players definitely deserve a better field house, one that accommodates more than it's currently accommodating, both for boys and girls sports. That is a possibility, but that is something that really can't be addressed with the $10 million budget without truly sacrificing some core needs. But I think it's everyone's intention, and certainly city staff as well, to see what we can do to look forward to a way to fund a true field house rebuild that will really suit what's going on there at this Nolan Field complex.
Well, even if that would be another phase, the bathrooms are just you step into the bathroom, it's like, you know, stepping into the 20s.
That is in this plan, though. Enhancing that and improving that is certainly in this plan.
Yes.
But even above and beyond that, you know, I think that that's ultimately what we want to be looking for is a way to get to something totally new for the field house. But yeah, the bathrooms are certainly in this phase.
So, John, I guess, you know, even for the girls' sports, there's nothing for, I guess, girls' amenities, girls' locker room, or anything like that there. What you said there's core things we'd have to cut back on. Can we? Is there options that we have where, again, it's not a $4 or $5 million build, it's say $1.5 million, $2 million for say upgrades to get it, get the bathrooms upgraded, get a girls' locker room or something in there, something along those lines.
Ron, what's your thought on that kind of addition? Something that wouldn't sort of step on the toes of a future field house rebuild?
No,
Still allow the girls to have something.
If we were able to, because the concession building is tired, right? I mean, that's a fair statement. We had looked at it, an option that tried to, and I'm asking as much as saying, is it a long walk from the Ansonia side football field to the public restrooms at Kennedy Fieldhouse? Because we thought it looked long, and at a restroom facility that was built just at the north end, at the end of the north end zone near the soccer field, close to where the concession is now, but a proper building that was public restrooms, concession, and field storage there would free up space at the Kennedy Fieldhouse to take what is currently the public restrooms, both men's and ladies, and use those for a new purpose, a girls' changing room for soccer. My daughter played soccer. They don't get the big locker rooms that football gets. They just need a clean, safe place to change. We think we could repurpose what is now the Kennedy public restrooms into some of those multi-purpose spaces at not a lot of money, while the city considers what to do with Kennedy overall.
Yeah, but that still requires that $4 million build out you're talking about for concession and restrooms.
No. If I didn't make it clear, I'm sorry. So we think we could build a concession, public bathroom, and field equipment storage at the center of the complex, truly like near the first base side of baseball, near the north end
Yep.
zone of football, and next to the soccer, we could build a proper, good public facility there for 600,000, and then renovate Kennedy for the other 600,000, and make improvements now that would enable you to figure out what Kennedy will be in its future, but immediately everyone do better. So
I'm sorry, I'm confused. What was the $4 million build out that you quoted before?
that was to build actually there was an addition. So Kennedy suffers from bad plumbing. We hear, we've been rolled up our sleeves, we've been in it, under it. But the plumbing, the existing athletes' shower rooms, the bathrooms or whatever have issues. We would have built a new addition adjacent to that, because it also suffers from lack of storage. Pop Warner is in the basement, and kind of a tight spot, etc. Is if we built a new addition that would become the wet part of the building, the bathrooms, showers, training room, etc., just to the south side of the existing, and then take those spaces that are now plumbed, the athlete shower areas, the public restrooms, etc., and convert those to bigger locker rooms, bigger storage for the different sports, and proper soccer and other sport changing rooms. That was the $4 million, but that's not in this budget. That was just what was presented in a cafeteria style proposition to the full committee.
Yeah.
So is the 600,000 like bathroom concession area, is that in the plan in the middle of the at that north end of the end zone? Is that included?
So that's what I alluded to, and it's the only part of the project that we don't feel that we have consensus. Is we have 1.2 million reserved for buildings at Nolan, and it could be just rebuilding the concession and renovating as much as that will afford us at Kennedy, or putting this new concession, public restroom, storage at the center of the complex for 600,000, and reduce what we can do in Kennedy, but basically remove the public bathrooms part and repurpose that for small money into more flexible spaces such as soccer changing rooms, etc.
That seems to make more sense, to me. Yeah. But again, I'm one of 14 on the board, so
yeah, it does. Makes sense to me.
I guess how do we again? I think there's going to be some of these minor tweaks along the way. I think I think in some cases a facility like that in the middle, for concessions, which is accessible to both baseball, soccer, football. It's the center point of the complex. So I think that makes sense. So I think baseball, you're sitting at one end and you got to walk, I don't know, what feels like 3 city blocks to the bathroom. That's kind of just not a good experience. But it doesn't sound like a whole lot of money to build a new concession public bathroom, and then have some residual money to upgrade what we can in the existing bathroom setup.
So as part of our proposed scope of services, in the 30% design phase would be to present those two options and give the city the opportunity to, and at that point we'd bear down in more detail on cost estimates, but give you another shot at that decision, I guess.
All right, John, what do you need, I guess, to move to get this ball rolling? I think the plan as it is probably close. it sounds like there's going to be some, potential tweaks, whether it's based on cost or just, I guess maybe just some differences or some thoughts. I know Chicago, you're pretty intimate with, the football program. We've had a lot of feedback from the soccer program and everybody else. So I think there's going to be some
It's good
tweaks.
to
But
get those initial comments, really good to get those initial comments tonight and to actually be looking at the plan together. We certainly don't need an approval right now. But what we do need is an idea of a subcommittee, as I think it's going to be a little unwieldy to have the conversations we need to have as a full group. Certainly, though, everyone in the group is more than happy, and we're more than happy to have them and more than entitled to be at every meeting along the way, looking at public meetings, obviously. But I think kind of getting a subcommittee together as we start to navigate this closer, because there's a potential that we could be ready to go as early as, early next year, February, March. And it's possible, if everything aligns correctly, that the work could begin next year. That's only going to be possible if we're working on this diligently over the next 3 months. So I think a smaller group that could dedicate that time is going to be what's needed right now. So I'd say that's what we're looking for, to designate who we'd like as a subcommittee from this board, so we could start to move forward, have those meetings with the Board of Ed, select the engineer. We need to be moving forward like in that fashion, I think, to get this done on time.
Yeah,
And of
Josh,
course,
I'd like to
sharing this with the public at the end of the day.
Josh, I'd like to volunteer for one of those positions if possible.
Here too.
All right, I'm gonna send my recommendations to the city, but for different reasons, I had eyeballed both of you anyways, but
Thanks.
I'll send my recommendations with logic for a small group.
Yeah, John and team, thanks for thanks for this and thanks for the presentation. It was appreciated.
Thank you, guys.
Good job, Ron.
Thanks, Ron.
Excellent.
Ron.
Yeah, thanks, Ron.
Thanks for coming, Ron.
It's been great. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Bye-bye.
All right, so we are at the end of our regular session. We have executive session with 4 items.
Motion to go into executive session. Sorry, Chicago.
That's all right. Second.
Motion by Mamone, second by Rivers to go to executive session. John, I'll put you in charge of that, getting us there.
Yeah, okay.
Motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
Motion by Rivers, second by Mamone to come out of executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we had 4 items in executive session. I'll go one by one. Number 1, executive session, claim 1023-1064 Jeff Palumbo versus City of Ansonia. What's your pleasure?
Motion to proceed as discussed in executive session.
Second.
Motion to proceed is discussed by Yauman, second by Rivers. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Number 2, claim 08-1061-24 Jen Krampitz versus City of Ansonia.
I don't think you need a motion, but no action.
Second.
No action by Yauman.
Second.
By Mamone. All in
Oh.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. How about number 3, potential land acquisition 64 to 78 Pulaski Highway?
Same thing. Motion to take no action.
Second.
Motion to take no action. Yauman, Mamone, second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And the last one, number 4, Weitzman versus City of Ansonia.
Motion to take no action.
Second.
Motion by Yauman, second by Mamone. No action. All in favor?
Aye. Motion to adjourn.
Oh,
Second.
and they're quick. Rivers and Tar with the second.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Aye.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
Happy
Yeah.
You
Thanksgiving.
too.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yep.